Hello everybody! Welcome back to Mission Control, and no, it's not NASA. So, hi guys! I know it's been a little while, it's a little bit awkward, I know we haven't seen each other for a little bit, but guys, I've missed you so much. I never realized how used to posting regularly I've become, so not posting for about 4 weeks because of the bubonic plague, along with exams and along with visiting family and, you know, all the other stuff, has kind of made me go a little bit insane. So, now that I'm back, I'm really excited to see you guys, and thank you guys for clicking on another video if you're coming back from another one, and if you've never seen my face around before and you're just clicking on this for the first time, welcome. My name's Artemis and I talk about well-endowed figures for the most part. But what is the actual subject for today? Because, you know, it's been about 4 weeks, I kind of gotta give you guys something to watch. I gotta give you guys something to actually look forward to. And unfortunately, while I know you guys really like watching me spend money, and I know you guys like watching me make poor financial decisions, I do not have that for you guys today because my pre-orders keep getting delayed, but you know, since there's a lot of new faces, which I'm also very thankful for from the, I guess, 2,000 subscriber video. By the way, giveaway winner is announced below because we announced it on live stream yesterday. I thought that it might be kind of nice to reintroduce myself, sort of talk about my journey through figure collecting. If you haven't seen, I've made a video similar to this before where I've talked about like what my room looks like throughout and what my collecting journey looked like, my collection over the years. But this is going to be a little bit different where I actually talk about my mentality as a collector, how I got into figure collecting to begin with, what came before, like BC. I don't even know if they call that anymore. I think it's a different term, but you know, instead of BC, it's BF, before figures. And I've never really talked about that before. I've talked about little bits and pieces over there, but you know, I think it would be kind of fun to talk about what does it mean to be a collector? What do you guys think it means to be a collector? And I just kind of wanted to open up that, you know, can of worms. Yeah, that's a phrase. That's a phrase. Can of worms. And just open up this discussion. So why don't we get into it? Why don't we get started? And let's just start off. Wait a minute! I'm gonna have to stop you right there. We have some special goodies from Sakuraco and TokyoTreat, and I'd like to thank them for sponsoring today's video because they keep your belly and my belly pretty full. So why don't we go check out what they have? Why don't we go check out what they have in store for us, and then we'll try some goodies together because we can and we want to. Anyways, editing Artemis will take over, and then we'll go try some snacks. Bye!
Alrighty guys, voiceover Artemis here, and why don't we go take a look at what Sakuraco and TokyoTreat have for us this month. So, the theme for Sakuraco this month is Moonlit Sakura, which is a very pretty name, just like the block print. And if you guys didn't know what TokyoTreat and Sakuraco are, if you haven't seen it in previous videos of mine, these are exclusive Japanese snack boxes that prioritize the, experience of Japan from the comforts of your own home. So Sakuraco is kind of unique in the sense that it has a household item every month, and in this mysterious box we actually have the Sakura Wagashi plate. I hope I said that right, but it is very beautiful. Every single month there's a new household item, and before I dox myself on this TokyoTreat box, we also got a special unboxing from the agriculture, customs of the United States. So they did in fact burn one of the items. But for this month in TokyoTreat, the theme is Sakura Nights Snack Fest, and you can kind of see that with all of the items that I'm showing over here. We have the matcha latte Kit Kats, which I will be trying later on, and just overall, even though one of the items was demolished by US Customs, each of these, pamphlets include allergen information if you're concerned about that, and let's go check these snacks out.
Alrighty, so now that voiceover Artemis has sort of taken over and explained all the goodies that we could possibly get in our boxes, why don't we try them out together, you and me, if you've already gotten your box, or if you are already ordering your box while we're talking about this because you were so shocked at how good the items were. I could try them first and then let you guys know. So I know this is from TokyoTreat, and why don't we get started with a little bit of TokyoTreat. It's like these grape little guys, and they have little friends in the back, which are super cute. But oh my god, it's like a little tray. It's like a little grapevine. I don't know if you can make wine out of this, but you know, a little fancy design. But yeah. Oh yeah, mukbang channel, ready to go. This was super good. I knew saving this for the video was good. But I would give this a 10 out of 10. I love grape flavor, and it doesn't look like the terrible grape that you normally get. So I would give that a 10 out of 10. Now, why don't we go ahead and why don't we try the Kit Kat for TokyoTreat this month? And let me tell you, it is matcha flavor, and I love me some matcha. I love me some matcha so much. But let's go ahead and let's go try it. That is fantastic. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever had matcha before, but it tastes exactly like the actual matcha powder. So don't expect it to taste like overly sweet. It tastes like the perfect amount of sweetness. I really like it. And I think that is all I have for TokyoTreat. Unless this is also from TokyoTreat. But it has a little Sakura on it. There's a little theme going on here if you guys have not noticed. But there's a little Sakura blossom on it. And let's go try it because I do not remember what this is either. Oh yeah. Oh my cherry blossom goodness. Good God. That tastes like vanilla dream soy goodness. Vanilla oak wood. Everything. It just tastes really good. It just tastes like really good vanilla, like pastry. And I will give that an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, just because I want to be spiced. Now, Sakuraco, I know this is from Sakuraco. Or at least I'm like 99% certain. Alrighty, with my big strong muscles, I have opened the package, clearly. With my big, strong, bulging muscles, I have opened the package. So that does not taste like Sakura whatsoever. It tastes really good, and I actually really like that because Sakura flavor isn't my favorite. I'm sorry, guys. That was really good. I'd give it 7 out of 10, just to be spicy. And I think the last thing that we're gonna try today, this spring collection pastry, and I think that it'll be really nice. I've been saving it for this. It kind of looks a little pink. I'm assuming it's Sakura flavored. Oh, that is very floral. That is very floral. That is some Sakura. So, if you guys like Sakura, you guys should definitely get this one's box. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching this. Thank you for TokyoTreat and Sakuraco for sponsoring this video. And if you guys want your own box, if you guys want to share it with your friends, grab a little snack for yourself, or, you know, just eat it late at night when nobody else is watching, you can do so with my promo code down below, either in the comment section or in the description. You can get $5 off any order. And yeah, let me know if you guys want to try any of this, because these are floral. But anyways, back to the video. Bye! You know, let's just start off this little discussion with something basic. You know, what do I think it means to be a collector? And how do we decide what is valuable? I'm pretty sure each and every one of you has your own definition for this, and nobody is objectively right. If we go based on the definition of what it means to collect, to be a collector, it is literally just, you know, a person who collects certain items or things they deem valuable. I think that's the general term, but what is exactly valuable is kind of limited to every single person. There will be one person who collects rocks, and there will be another person who collects quarters. I used to collect quarters, but then they got used in a washing machine. So I do not collect quarters anymore. But, you know, for the sake of the argument, anything can be deemed collector's worthy if the person, the eye of the beholder, thinks that it is. So, and for me personally, I have had many collections growing up. It has not just been figures. If you're very shocked about that, this one has just been the longest one. But, you know, I used to collect quarters, like I said. I used to make my own little rain balloons and have my own little collection. That was my first business, by the way. I used to collect stickers. I used to collect, you know, art prints, which I still do. And just all kinds of stuff. I used to collect stamps. I inherited my dad's stamp collection, and now I just have stamps from, like, the 1900s. You know, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But I think that for me, I have always just wanted to collect little trinkets and little things that I found pretty. I think for me, anything that is really pretty or just eye-catching, you know, like shiny object, right? I'm really like an animal, where I see a shiny object and I want to just hoard it. That's sort of my own philosophy as a collector. And I would like to call myself a collector just because I hoard things. So I guess I collect a multitude of items, but I don't just want to be known as a figure collector. For the longest time, I actually collected enamel pins, and I've mentioned it in my, like, room tour video, which I will make one in a couple months, maybe when I'm back from Japan. But, you know, I've shown my enamel pin collection, and a lot of people were like, how did it get that big? And let me tell you, before I collected figures, which is about 4 years now, I collected enamel pins exclusively for 4 years straight. Like, I collected enamel pins all throughout high school and a little bit of middle school, and I was kind of known. I was kind of known as that being my only thing. Whenever you would look at me, you almost like saw pin bags. Not pin bags. You almost saw a pin covered in my backpack, or people would be like, "Oh no, she's talking about pins again," right? Because that's just kind of what I always talked about. Now, whether or not people found that annoying, you can ask my old high school peers. If you guys are watching this, I don't know why you would, but let me know. But I thought that it was a really nice way to sort of express myself in a way that wasn't too expensive, because growing up, I actually did not have my own room. I had to, there were a lot of things going on with my family, and I just never had a space to call my own. If I can find a picture, my pin boards, before I even got my pin boards, but when I got my pin boards, they literally used to be sitting on a leopard print mattress on top of that. And that was like the extent to what my room was. And maybe the manga wall, which I just had to take down this last spring break, by the way. It kind of made me sad. But that was it. That's all I had. I didn't have all of these figures. I didn't have all of these art prints. And I definitely did not have enough money to be buying like shelves and, different trinkets and all this other stuff. So, enamel pins were the sort of perfect, I guess, medium for me to get into my hobbies and get into my collections without sacrificing too much. So, let me just make a quick distinction. Let me just make a quick distinction between what is an enamel pin and what are the pins you're probably thinking of. So the pins you're probably thinking of are button pins, which are like these circular ones, obviously because it's a button, and they mostly have the art printed onto them by like laser or something like that. But an enamel pin is a just literally like metal framework, right, where you pour enamel into. That's why it's called an enamel pin. So it is not buttons. I actually have a thing against buttons. I really hate buttons. I will not buy buttons, except for the few that I got at home at. But I am exclusively against buying buttons. If you like buttons, that's your own choice. That's your collection. But for me personally, I have always had a superiority complex. Not really, but just sort of a preference for actual, I guess, like enamel pins with the art and all this other stuff. So now that we've got that out of the way, what got me into enamel? So in the board behind me, I will show you the most recent board that I have right next to me over here, but I can't do that right now. In the board behind me, that was actually my first pin board, and these are both 3x4 foot pin boards. I used to just go on Etsy. That's really all I did, because I really loved fan art. I really loved looking at art in general. I'm actually trying to learn how to draw now, which is not really going that well, but you know what? It'll take a couple years, and then you guys will see me doing splash art for Riot one day, maybe. I don't even play the game, but you know what I'm saying? Big goals. But I've always enjoyed art. I've always enjoyed looking at it. So when I realized that Etsy was a thing before it became a drop shipping landscape and hellhole, I just used to go on there and search up pretty enamel pin, like literally pewter, give me enamel pin, and that's basically what I used to buy. So almost all of my pins on the top row, which I will probably put up footage as I'm talking about them, are from like random artists on Etsy that I still follow to this day, simply because their individual artwork was just so beautiful at the time. And it just made me really happy to own pretty shiny things in my collection. So that was the beginning. That was the beginning that started all of this mess. I don't know if it was a good decision, but it ended up becoming one. But, after a few years, I'm pretty sure it was like within a year of me only collecting Etsy enamel pins, I started getting into anime. Now, I've always been into anime. I have been watching anime since since 6th grade or even younger, but really getting into it in 6th grade with my Familiar Zero. I love that show. Thank you, Louise. She's on my desk. But I never really thought like, hey, there might be pins of anime characters that I like. So I ended up going into that rabbit hole, and this is where we get into anime enamel pin drama, or anime creator drama, because I never would have thought that I would receive death threats, just threats in general, getting bullied over pins, but that is actually something that ended up happening. But overall, I had a fantastic time collecting anime enamel pins. I even, had my own Instagram/photography account, which I will, just show some pictures here as I'm talking about it, because why not? But, I used to take photography. I used to be a photographer for certain pin makers, like Dova Pin, I love you, and Min Min pins. They were awesome to work with. I'm pretty sure I helped make Min Min their Discord, so that was like a fun time overall, and I'm really happy for all the positive experiences I had with collecting anime enamel pins. Now, the market for them was almost really rare, because it, I guess in the late 2015s era, right? Because I guess that's when I was in high school. Buying anime enamel pins was almost like the stock market, right? It wasn't just like a normal, normal thing, right? Because there would be a pin drop, right? And you would think that bots only apply to like TCG, games, and not even figures. Like maybe figures on the pre-owned section for Caroline Yuri, but you wouldn't expect bots in an enamel pin Discord. But that was a rampant issue. And, the amount of people that needed pin buddies, drop buddies, posting on the Discord, posting their ISOs, pins would get in the thousands of dollars range if you happened to miss the drop. And by the way, pins, I might have mentioned it as a more cheaper option, but they definitely were not, they were not cheap, okay? An enamel pin on average can run you from about 15 on the cheaper end to in 150 for the most complicated pin. I'm pretty sure I spent 120 for my most complicated pin. I don't remember which one it was, but I definitely spent that much on one pin. And those are expensive, especially if you're collecting multiple of them. So, being in these Discords, I remember actively looking at at least 7 to 8 different Discords at a time for my ISOs, for pin drops, all this other stuff. And it was a hellhole. A lot of the community was very active, and I really enjoyed that about them. I loved posting my photography on there, and I loved talking to people. And I'll give myself credit where it's due. I think I was one of the first people to do digital photography for enamel pins. And what I mean by that is that instead of taking pictures of enamel pins with physical backgrounds, which a lot of amazing creators have nailed, and they've mastered that art or artwork, and I'll credit them and post them over here. But instead of doing the physical, I started taking digital art and digital landscapes and digital things that I found online, and basically taking a real life picture of the enamel pin and then overlaying them on top with a bunch of cutout stuff. Now, nowadays, you guys have fancy cutout materials, but I had to do all that shit by hand. All that by hand when I was younger. So, I'm very proud of myself for the few that I've done. I did not do it for a long time, but I like to think that I was a little bit of a pioneer in that aspect. But, once we started getting into 2020, 2021, this is around when I started figure collecting, the enamel pin community was very spread thin. People didn't really have any money anymore, or even when they did have money due to the pandemic and all those stimulus checks, it was just not reasonable to keep collecting, especially for me. I loved collecting enamel pins. I loved interacting with the community, but at some point, for example, there was a Haikyuu pin drop, and I probably will not name the creator here, but there was a Haikyuu pin drop, and I was super excited to get this pin. I had not watched Haikyuu before, and in pin collecting, there's this thing called traders, right? So this was a really sought after pin, and I was looking forward to getting this pin for my personal collection, but also in the rare chance that I wanted to get rid of it, it would be a good trader. I casually mentioned after I got it, after beating all the bots and everything, that I was super excited to get this pin. I had not watched Haikyuu. And you would not believe, I might post screenshots if I can, that the moderators of this creators Discord bullied me themselves, even though there's a no bullying, there's a no bullying rule on there. The creator themselves canceled my order and then forced me to rebuy the pin with a C grade to ensure that I had it. I might even show the pin, just because. But, it was this whole thing, and I basically had to beg on my hands and knees to get something that I placed an order for fair and square. So that was kind of crazy. That night was not so good on my mental conscience, having multiple death threats and just overall bullying by members of the community and the own moderators, which kind of made me start going downhill in terms of, do I even enjoy enamel pin collecting anymore? And the answer at that point was really no. And we can't even find those messages anymore because they promptly deleted them afterwards. So I wish I could show you guys proof, but you guys are just gonna have to take my word for it. Why wouldn't you? It's been years. I wouldn't hold out a grudge for something that's a lie, you know? But besides that, enamel pin collecting just became so overcomplicated. There were a lot of creators like Cassie Pins, of who I actually have a lot of pins of. I really enjoyed her pins, that just were not fulfilling their promises to the people that pre-ordered. The way that it works is not like it is with figure collecting. It actually is very different in the sense that, like, you can place a pre-order, but you always pay upfront. That's how these pin makers end up making their money, and that's how they also, you know, do it individually to their manufacturers, right? They're doing all of this stuff individually as artists, so they aren't just, you know, this big company that can just afford to have people cancel their pre-orders or, you know, not pay upfront. So you would be paying upfront for items that you might not even see a year from then. So there was a lot of trust that was broken in the community. Cassie Pins is just one. Cassie Arts Pins, maybe. She had the popular like Triangle series or Diamond series. That's one of the most notable ones that I remember. I know that there were another few, but given the climate, given that a lot of the artwork was also just not enticing to me anymore, it seemed like a lot of people were just doing pin on pins, which essentially is just two enamel pins on top of one another to give it like a, I guess, 3D effect. I actually have a pin on pin by Nakama Pins over here, and this is one of the only recent ones that I've bought lately. But this is what I mean by a pin on pin. This is an excellent example of a pin on pin, but if you couldn't already see, right, this is the second pin layered on top of the first pin, which is the base thing over here. And this is an excellent representation of what it actually is supposed to look like, but a lot of people chose to be lazy, and it just made the prices of enamel pins skyrocket for absolutely no reason in my mind. But other than that, that's kind of why I decided to let go of enamel pins, especially because I actually started collecting figures around this time. My first figure was the Victor that's like right over here. You know, I'm just gonna point to him because I know I'm gonna break something if I grab him. We've learned by now. But I got my first figure with my roommate, who I blame for all of my bad financial decisions at this point, because we decided to visit Siren Anime, which is an anime store in South Florida. I love you, Siren. They do not overprice their things too badly. I mean, obviously, if you are a US-based seller, you kind of have to, you know, add a little bit of dollars on top of it, but they were very fairly priced when we first visited. And I happened, you know, whether it's lucky or unlucky, I happened to see this Victor figure, and it was $100. I remember this very specifically. And you know, my roommate, who I would call different words because of our inside jokes, but, you know, my roommate looked at me and he goes, you know what? You should get it. And he gaslit me into buying this figure. And I was deliberating because, again, $100 is not a little amount of money for me, especially because I wasn't working or because I wasn't allowed to work. And it was a lot of money. And I had just started saving up money at that time. So it was a lot. But I am so happy I ended up making that decision. I thank him, but I also curse him for getting me into this hobby. But that was my first figure, and that's what got me into this deep, deep rabbit hole. So now that we're actually getting into the rabbit hole of how I got into this mess and how I got to almost 100 plus, actually, I do have 100 plus figures. You might be wondering, if you aren't a collector already, if you are a collector, you probably have already gotten over this like mental hump and mental slump. But if you're new and somebody who hasn't really bought a lot of things for themselves or just like figures in general, you might be wondering, Artemis, how do you get over the impression of other people's opinions on your lives? Because I will be quite frank, there will be a lot of people who think you are a freak for collecting anime figures, and quite frankly, I do not care. I think that's like the TLDR, but that's not really good advice, and I'm going to try my best to sort of see it from a different perspective. When I started collecting enamel pins, that's kind of what sort of toughened me up, but I've always been a little bit bullied for my love of anime, even in middle school. You know, the casual bullying, not like I got whirled in a toilet bowl, all right? I was fine, all right? I didn't get whirled. But like, you know, just the casual banter and people like sort of poking fun at like the stickers that I had on my backpack or something. But, you know, collecting enamel pins, which is such a niche thing to collect, especially as like a high schooler who doesn't, you know, collect much of anything else like shoes or clothes or any other things like that. You know, I always had people, including my parents, asking me, Why? Why is this piece of metal $20, $30, $40, $50, God forbid, $50, you know? Or why do you care about this shiny little piece of metal? And after getting those questions constantly over the years, I never really had an issue, like I never really had like an epiphany where I'm like, oh my god, other people's opinions are so important. I'm gonna stop collecting what I want to collect because they think my collection is boring. That's just not the type of person I am. And realistically speaking, is it their money? No. That is something you kind of have to remind yourself, especially with whatever you are buying, unless it's like clearly problematic and illegal, and you're not, and you're like, you know, and you're hurting somebody, right? Who cares? Genuinely, who cares? I do not know who is like holding you by the throat and being like, yeah, screw you. But you know, that's kind of my whole philosophy. It's like, if you're not hurting anybody, you're not doing something illegal, you're not buying something that looks like it should be illegal, then who cares? You know, and that really helped me, at least going into college and going into figure collecting, because people will think that you're very weird. I thankfully haven't had the issue of like, oh my god, people are gonna think I'm weird, because I know I am. I know I'm a little bit strange, a little bit funky, a little bit kooky, but like, you know, a little screws loose up there. But at the end of the day, it's what makes you happy, and it's what makes me happy, and that's why I continue to collect. So I don't care about other people's opinions. You know, if they can choose to believe me whether or not they want to about like that I collect NSFW figures without displaying them cast off, and that, you know, they can choose to think that like I goon my figures all they want. You know, they can choose to believe whatever they want. But the reality is that like when I buy NSFW figures, do I goon them? No. Do I even view them sexually? I actually do not. I just enjoy collecting NSFW figures, and that just happened to be a byproduct of the way I was raised and the things I saw on the internet. Maybe I've been desensitized to it, but overall, I just enjoy the things I enjoy. And if other people have a problem with it, it's not their money. They're not paying me. So unless somebody pays me to buy figures, then maybe I'll listen to your input. I don't know. But until that point, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. I'm not listening. So now that we're past that point, so what is so special about figures to me? What is so special? Because, you know, enamel pins are beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're amazing. Why would I stop collecting those, which are like 2D, and start going into figure collectors, which are not figure collectors, figures, anime figures in general, which are 3D, and take up a lot more space in terms of their boxes and all this stuff. I just love looking at 3D renditions of the things that I love. I love looking at art. I love sculptures. I love looking at sculptures. And unfortunately, I am not rich enough to go buy a Greek marble sculpture from my homeland and bring that over to my house. I don't even have like a permanent house yet. So, you know, until I get to that point, anime figures are sort of the perfect little compromise for me. Just like enamel pins were the compromise for wanting art, that like I get to have a little mini statue in my house, and I get to look at it from all the angles and see all the intricate little details that the artist decided to put in, or all the places where it looks a little sparkly and shiny and different light, and how different lighting affects my figures, which is why I'm also really obsessed with lighting for my displays, and that's why I also don't put them in details, because I like seeing what the lighting in my room does to my figures. But just in general, I love looking at how, you know, 3D they are, and every nook and cranny about my figures. I love looking at all their details, and I have such a respect for artists and people who dedicate their lives to making these beautiful things, so being able to appreciate them right up here is perfect for me. So that's what I think is so special about anime figures. At least personally, that is what I think is so special about them to me. A lot of people might ask whether or not like manga would fulfill that niche for me, and unfortunately, while I do have some series of manga just doesn't hit the same for me. There are a lot of manga collectors who use their Billy bookshelves to display their collections, and they look amazing. I actually have a bunch of manga on my shelf, but am I ever going to be a sole manga collector? I do not think so. I have ADHD, so if it's not right in front of my face and I'm looking at the cover and the cover art isn't pretty, I am going to forget about it, and I'm never going to look at it. I'm never going to open it. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to look at it exactly one time, I'm going to read it one time, and then I'm never going to go through it again. So that's why, for the most part, when I collect manga, I usually buy it as a decorative piece to make my collection look better. I don't know if any of you guys do that. I think think I'm one of the few, but I know that a lot of people enjoy like different manga covers, which is why I have the 2 different volumes of the last Wotakoi volume. But that's besides the point. But that's why I don't collect manga exclusively. I've collected of my favorite series, maybe, sort of. I've done a few, but that's why I don't collect manga. And, you know, just overall, I think what it all boils down to is that I finally have my own space. I know, you know, in my previous video, I showed what my previous spaces looked like and how my room has evolved over the years, but I'll just put up, like, just pictures as I'm talking about it, if you guys don't want to watch a whole other video for that. But, you know, I, again, never had my own space growing up. I barely had my own bed. So being able to have a whole room now dedicated to me and dedicated to all my interests is something that I heavily prioritize, and that's why I have so much shit. Every time somebody comes into my room, they're like, wow, it's a lot! And I'm like, damn right it is, because it's gonna have everything that I could ever love and more. But another thing about that, funny thing, we had a maintenance guy come in to take away like the air, the window ACs, because our AC broke for a little while, and he walked into my room and he's like, you have a lot of stuff, but it looks organized. And I'm like, that's all I needed to hear. Just don't tell me I look like a hoarder. But I guess having my own space, you kind of evolve over time, and looking at the old pictures just makes me think about how cute and how naive I was. I still am naive now. 5 years from now, or even a year from now, I'm gonna look back at this video and be like, oh, you're so stupid. But, you know, just being able to look at that progress over the years, being able to look at how my interests and how my tastes have changed, although being quite consistent over time, it's just a really nice experience. And I love experiencing basically me throughout my room. I think overall, I want somebody to be able to walk into my room and know that it is my room and my room only. It can't be anybody else's. It is my room. You know, you can't confuse it with somebody else's room 50 miles away. It's my room specifically, and that's the overall impression that I hope to achieve with my own room. Now, naturally, have I made some cringe decisions? Obviously, nobody is perfect in making their room. That's why you live in the space, and you're like, ew, this is ugly, you know. But cut me some slack. All right, I didn't have a room. Okay, we're learning over time. But just in general, I'm really happy with the way my room has sort of turned out. When I come back from Japan, and sometime around this channel's 1-year anniversary, I might make another room tour before I move. Let me address the elephant in the room, because with 100+ figures, I get this question asked a lot. How do I afford figures? Now, I could answer this in a Q&A, and I probably might make a Q&A if anybody's actually interested in that. I don't know why, but you know, if you guys want a Q&A, I can do that. But how do I afford figures? I'm a broke college student. I barely work, all right? How do you afford anime figures? I went to a college that wouldn't give me debt and paid me to go to college. That's the whole story. And I worked for my professor for a little bit. I do research with astrophysics. I'm an astrophysics major, and I do research in my field. And I work with my professor, and she paid me over the summer for a few summers, and also sometimes during the semester. But most importantly, I picked a school that was not my dream school. I actually did not want to come to the school whatsoever, but I'm really glad that I did, because of all the people that I met and all the, you know, opportunities that I was given. But in general, my whole thing with finances and everything, I have a lot of financial baggage that we won't get into this video. You guys are not my therapist. But, you know, I sort of went with what would leave me the most financially stable. And between paying 30 grand a year with a lot of scholarships to go to my dream college, not including rent, versus literally getting paid to go to college, it was a no-brainer. And thankfully, Florida had Bright Futures, which helped me get paid. But that is not the reality for a lot of people. I know that a lot of people my age can't do this, and you should not feel bad. You should not feel bad whatsoever if you cannot have a huge collection. All right. You might see pictures and you might see like videos and you might be like, oh my god, like, you know, we're the same age and we don't have the same amount of, you know, figures and things, and I wish my room looked like hers, and not necessarily like mine, but like anybody on the internet. But what you have to understand is that not everybody is in the same situation as you. You do not share the same experiences, you do not share the same life, and you especially do not share the same wallet. So until somebody pays for your figures, do not judge yourself for the amount of figures that you have in your collection, for how big your collection is. Oh, do I only collect prizes or scales? Who cares? Eventually, over time, maybe if you want to dedicate a little bit here, a little bit there, eventually you can get the room of your dreams. But I think it's very important to sort of just be happy with what you have at the moment. That's sort of what made me so satisfied with my collection. When I had 3 figures, I didn't look at my 3 figures and be like, I hate you! I hate you! I don't like you! Because, I don't have multiple figures. I just really liked looking at them. And then I'm like, oh, but I like these too. And then I ended up getting them in my collection. So, be happy with what you have. I know it's kind of hard to say that because, I have the figures now, but trust me, I've been in the same situation, and the best thing to do is just be happy, because the grass is always greener on the other side, really. But will I ever collect figure collecting? Will I ever quit figure collecting? Because, if you look at my MFC page, and hi to everybody that's reached out to me on MFC, thank you guys for commenting, you might notice that I don't have quite as many anime figures pre-ordered. It's not because I'm quitting. It's just because most of the figures that are coming out nowadays just simply have not interested me for a while. I do not think I will ever quit figure collecting, because I've said it for like 3 years now. Or, yeah, I've said it for 2.5 years now, that I would quit figure collecting. I said it in, oh my god, it's 2025. No, I said I would quit in 2023. I said I would quit in 2024. And then now it's 2025 and I said the same goddamn thing, and it never ends up happening. So, at this point, I'm just coming to the realization that that's never going to happen. And I'm just always going to collect figures, whether it be like 1 figure a year or 50 figures a year. It honestly just depends on what everything looks like. Right now, I have a lot of Nendoroids and a lot of figures that are coming out later in the year, but I'm hoping there's more stuff for me to pre-order. I'm willing to throw my wallet, okay, that was very loud. I'm willing to throw my wallet at anybody who's willing to give me a good figure for all the stuff that's in, like, draft on my wish list. But other than that, I'm really not planning on quitting figure collecting. I am too much of a collector at heart. I'm too much of a collector, of the fine arts and the big boobies, to quit figure collecting. So do not worry. I will have foolery and goonery and whatever the hell on here for a long time. And yeah, so that is all I have for you guys today. I didn't really expect to just sort of ramble on for that long. If you guys stayed for the entirety of this, thank you. And if you guys have your own experiences that you'd like to share, I love hearing from you guys, especially about your most anticipated figures. In the previous videos, I read through every single one of them. Awesome choices. But if you guys want to share about your own experiences as a collector, did you start with figure collecting? Do you wish that you could stop figure collecting and go on to something else? Do you collect multiple things? Let me know down below. And I don't really know how to make an outro. It's too awkward for me. I can't really do this. But let me know what you guys think. And editing Artemis is going to take over. Bye!
Wow! Welcome back to the end of another video. Jesus Christ, you have made it to the end of this very, very long video. But thank you for watching if you've gotten all the way to the end. I hope you are having a good time. Thank you for being so patient with me, guys. I really needed that break, or at least, to recover and maybe not be sick, and maybe vomit all over the screen. But I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys so much for all your support on the previous videos. And the Discord should be up now. You should be able to join it. The link is in the description if you guys want to join. And I posted the giveaway winner in the community post, so go check that out if you want. So, anyways, I'm going to stop yapping. Hope you guys are having a good time, and bye!
With my big, strong muscles, with my big, and,